Thank you for inviting us, Kim and Deb, for including us to talk about our story about the IDO, Informatics Diversity Enhanced Workforce. So the next 10, 15 minutes, we'll give you a quick idea about our project on the IDO. We'll go over the background, how we started, what this is all about, and the IDO in action, what's going on right now, and the outcomes so far. And of course, this workshop is all about fundraising and how we achieve that or continue to work on that to support the IDO program and opening up for any discussions. So to begin with, the best way to tell the story or the cause of IDO, I'm going to play this little video and then we'll continue.
I want to continue in the field of informatics and computing.
I'm going to Purdue to study health and sciences.
I want to be a web developer.
I want to be a game developer.
I want to pursue careers in technology.
We need talent, and it's a pipeline challenge. We need students that are interested in science, technology, engineering, and math. That will be the workforce of our futures, and IDO is actively helping to create that pipeline for us.
In my IDO class, I have the ability to innovate, provide solutions, and be creative, and collaborate with a lot of different people, which is something that you don't really get from too many other classes.
So one of the things that's really cool about the program is the work the kids are doing. Most recently has been in the IoT or Internet of Things space. And work that we're doing at Cummins is directly applicable to what they're doing.
So this is a short introduction about IDO, the shorter version of our video. So here is the reason why, what we are doing and why we are doing this. It's all about the IT workforce, the opportunities, and the gap. The gap is the most important part. If you look on the left side of the slide, over 3.5 million jobs in the IT space by 2020, high-paying jobs, and in all areas of IT. And this is true at the national level and also at the regional level in Indiana, if you look on this side. But the center part in the slide is the most critical or the most important reason for what we are doing, the overall diversity. All right, so there are two areas, the race and the gender side. And of course, the women participation in IT workforce and the race underrepresented minority that are participating in IT workforces is really, really bad. If you look at major corporations like Google and Amazons and Facebooks and all those places, we are looking at very low single-digit percentage. It is that bad. Yet the opportunity for this is amazing and the career prospects, and that continues to grow. Now, why? Why is such a gap? And including women. So that's also important. We believe the reason is there's a lack of awareness, a stigma, a fear, whether this is something that we can handle. Or when you hear about IT, it's all about programming, or it's or geek stuff. I'm not interested in it. It's not for me. From the girls' side. So there are many reasons centered around this why this situation is happening, and the lack of participation in this space. So we come up with a solution or any idea that we have piloted, and we continue to work on it. And that's I do. So here we have a vision to empower students to succeed in the 21st century, build a talented, diverse technology workforce. So that is the key. Our mission to learn, explore, and plan and help students in this process while we work with these student cohorts. And in that embedded is the value, the community, the diversity, the equity, the success, innovation, all that goes into our innovative curriculum. Because we developed this, the program that we have developed is not just a computer science, a programming class or anything. It's a very holistic wraparound program that has many elements in it. So in those three areas, learn, explore, and plan, we have a curriculum component where we address the learning part. We have a co-curricular component where we support the explore part with the industry, field trips, summer workshop, attending workshops and elements like that. And then we have the students all the way from getting them into either 4-year, 2-year college or career pathways. So it's not a one-time thing, it's not a summer program, but it's a 4-year program that we are with these children from the freshman year through senior year. And we means our faculty are teaching these classes with the high school teachers in the classroom 5 days a week. So, and it's a year-round program. During summer, they are with us for, actually right now, they are in our space doing summer workshops, or they are doing internship, or they are doing certification training. So many things are happening in parallel. So the whole idea about the stigma or the how do you incentivize, how do you instill interest in the field is something we developed called computing by design. So it's about not about the technology. If you all watched Winter Olympics, there was a beautiful commercial by Microsoft. It's talking about IT and technology. It's not about that, but it's what you can do with it. I don't know how many of you have seen it. It's beautiful. What can you do with it? That is what the real innovation or the way we are approaching this problem is working on technology, but addressing community-related problem, connecting with the people. How do you solve problems that will touch people? That's the innovation that we are introducing in this in our approach. So the program is very much project and team-based learning. Students work in groups, and you're seeing the students in action here. They work in groups on project. Every semester, there is a learning theme, and that theme, they have to come up with a project to work on. It's their own idea. They design it, develop it, implement it, prototype it, and demonstrate it in those 4 months of their semester. So that's what's happening here, and there was a grand finale of the end of semester project presentation where we have industry people come, visit, and they judge their work, and they are given awards and stuff like that. So this is a real screenshot from this semester, actually, that ended a couple of weeks ago. So we started this journey in 2013. It took us 2 years to get to 2015 to get this up and going. The delay was in finding that first dollar to support this. We talked, I joke, and it's not joke, I said, I have been on to the second pair of shoes by the time we were able to launch this, the first 3 schools. 2016, we received as a major breakthrough in terms of financial support. We get this grant. And then since then, we have been very successful because other things helped us, winning the US 2020 STEM Mentoring Award, that's a national award, and the Tech Point Mirror Award for Tech Educator, and all those things helps in the fundraising too, because we use those things very skillfully. I do in action. How does this program work? I kind of mentioned it's a year-round program. If you go around here, we work with the students from 9th through 12th grade. It's a year-round program. Right now, we have implemented in 3 schools. The 3rd year we just completed. It involves SOIC faculty teaching and high school students involved with it. We have events at IUPUI. The students come here, visit us multiple times. An important part of this is a dual credit. Okay, these are all part of fundraising. It's interesting. Some of our early on, I remember this. Some of our interested stakeholders would ask, "Are they getting dual credit?" And at that point, here at IUPUI, we have no way of awarding dual credit. It was all in Bloomington. Those who are not familiar with our system, the dual credit was controlled from there. But through this project, we got the liberty and the go-ahead to award dual credit hours. Right now, that's happening. So over 100 students are taking advantage of the dual credit. So this is the overall, the holistic view of the IDO program. And these are the pillars or the core components. The industry community partnership is the most important thing that we have built, and that has been the success of this program, without which we couldn't have done it. Of course, the schools has to open up because they have opened up. Otherwise, we cannot go in and teach and replace their classes with our classes. So the schools have been extremely helpful and support. Then, of course, our own faculty and staff. I have 4 people full-time committed to this, 2 faculty and 2 staff person managing the project. There's a lot of human resources are needed to support a program like this to make a difference. And then, of course, our own students become peer mentors. They play an amazing role in this because the IDO students listen and open up to these students very nicely. And so we have an army of those students in the classroom, by the way, 5 days a week. They take turns. They go to these schools and in the classrooms helping. So we started with these local schools, Arsenal Technical, Providence Cristo Rey, and Pike High School. And we are adding 3 more schools, or 3 more schools are coming in this coming fall, 2018 fall. Southport and what are the 2 other schools? Mackenzie Center and George Washington, correct. Okay. Where are we now? We have 6 IDO programs school by fall. We have 9 high school teachers trained. The teachers are in the classroom getting trained. There's a hands-off process because we are not going to be there forever. The teachers are getting trained on this curriculum, so that's already happening. We have 600 plus students in the fall when we add the 3 new schools. This 110,000 contact hours by our faculty and students in these classrooms. That's why there is such a significant cost to this program. And so far, we have 14 investors in this. These are some of our early numbers based on the 3 years, 81% retention of the students continuing with these classes. Remember, from semester to semester and year to year, we hope they come back and continue with the IDO program. We do have 83% graduated. These are students who started in a sort of an off cycle. Those who are already junior, sophomore, started in the IDO program, they started graduating last year. So those 83% touched by IDO graduated. 81% are minorities, the underserved population. 86% pursuing college. This is an amazing thing for us. This was beyond our expectation. 86% going to college, and 80% of them are pursuing STEM, mostly engineering. This cohort this year graduated, 9 of them are going to Purdue into pursuing computer science. We got some, few going to IU, and many other colleges, a couple of them going to Notre Dame. So students are going everywhere. Here are some early indicators. This is our survey. This class helped me to improve my ability to gather, process, represent, analyze different types of data. This is one of the technology outcomes. And what they intend to do, how this impacted them. Here's a very touching story from one of our students. He's doing computer science at Purdue right now. He's a sophomore. IDO is the reason I moved into technology. And he told me this personally too. So amazing kid, and without this, that's because they are not getting this kind of an exposure in the schools that we are in, and that's very important. Another big outcome of the IDO is our grant from National Science Foundation. It's called it's an STEM grant. Kim is a co-PI on this grant, over $4 million, 5-year period. What this allows is to give scholarships to these IDO graduates coming to us to pursue 4-year degree. And Ivy Tech, it's a consortium grant. They can go to Ivy Tech, it's our community college. They can pursue 2 years there and then move on here, get their full degree, or they can finish with their associate degree at Ivy Tech. So this is, I attribute this success of this grant to the IDO because we have already a history with the IDO program, that holistic program that we have developed. IDO program investors, we have 14 partners in this program now. We raised over $1.92 million. One just came today. So this partnership is the whole success with the community and for the community. And people listen. When JP Morgan Chase, I should acknowledge, believed in us early on, put that first dollar down, then things begin to happen. But to get that, it took us a lot of effort to convince people. Everybody would ask, well, what is the per student cost for this thing? Oh, well, this is going to cost, that's too much. How many students are touching? How many thousand? No, we are not touching thousands. We are touching few hundred. Oh, that's too few. We try to tell them, we are 1 inch wide, but we are 1 mile deep, because we believe that's what it takes to make the difference. It's not like teaching a summer class touching 5,000 or 50,000 and say, we have no idea what happened. One of those things. No, this is a very, very resource intensive, very intentional program that we want to make a difference. But where do we want to go with this? Well, we want to expand this in Indiana and beyond. We want to create an institute of IDO, and we hope to touch 25 high schools with over 30,000 students over the next 5 years. And we want to secure scholarship. This is one of our bigger, because there are many IDO students graduating now they need scholarships to continue. They need scholarship. Without that, they cannot continue college. So we think we have a strong case to talk about, to secure such a scholarship. Finally, the team. These are the full-time team associated with this picture. As part of our co-curricular thing, we took 22 students to the TAPIA conference. I don't know if anyone knows about TAPIA conference. This was in Atlanta. It's a diversity conference that mostly college students come. All the major IT companies are there, Microsoft, everybody with their, trying to recruit students. And our students were there. They are all wearing this polo. They looked beautiful, cute. I mean, they walked around and talked to all these exhibitors and talked to them. They thought they were college kids, so they wanted to hire them. Google wanted to hire these students. They said, oh, no, we are high school kids. So anyway, so this is part of their exposure. These are some of them never left Indianapolis. Forget about Atlanta. So we took them on a bus all the way to Atlanta. That was great. Now, I will give this over to Stacy.
Thank you, Matthew. My name's Stacy Ziering, Director of Development, and you can see with this program how my job was easy to be successful in raising money. Incredible program, but as Matthew pointed out, not easy in the beginning. That's what we're going to talk about half the time, is the uphill battle, and then the momentum followed. But I'm just going to jump right into it. I know we're running behind today, so I want to focus on program alignment versus proposal alignment. And the reason is because I think a lot of folks mistakenly talk about, let's align our proposal with funders' priorities, which is a horrible mistake, because the alignment really needs to happen with the project or the program on the front end. That's where the things take shape, the research is done, the correct investor is found, and the proposal, if the program or project aligns, will naturally and easily speak to this. So the idea that a really well-crafted, beautiful proposal will compel someone to fund me is just naive. I have got to make sure what I'm doing is demanded in the public sector. There's got to be a problem that needs to be solved that people are interested in solving. And that can happen through prospect research, which we'll talk about in a bit. Now, that is not to say that a good proposal doesn't need to have all the required components, like talking about what are my inputs, what are my resources, what are my plans and activities, the metrics and the data, and how will that be evaluated and reported, and all those things are critical. But again, to reiterate, the narrative of the proposal will naturally explain how what you're doing will solve the problem that the funding organization is trying to solve. And the narrative will also describe why you are the best qualified to fulfill the outcomes that are being sought by the funder. So, and the other thing to keep in mind too is that, I've worked in places in the past where folks just have this entitlement, this is a great program. There's a societal value or scientific merit, and my neighbor thinks it should be funded. And be true be those as they may, that won't get funding. So I have to think about this in terms of what am I offering and what service can I bring to help fill the needs of the community and the funding organization. And so you figure out, well, how do we figure that? How do we ascertain who's interested? How do I know if there's demand? Well, most higher ed institutions, advancement offices have a prospect research department. And I've been fortunate in my career to have had that, including here at Indiana University. And so while this is only one critical piece of prospect research, an important one is requesting a report that asks for a particular funder at a given amount for the area that I'm interested in seeking. And from that, I can see who is out there already trying to solve this problem. That's a great starting place. Furthermore, that prospect research group can also run a list of alumni or officers on boards at the university that are connected or work at these organizations. So even if there's an organization that doesn't come back that's a company I think would be interested, I can still run a list of these 10 companies and all the alumni that work in those. And that'll be a great way to network and try to get entree into those companies. And we'll talk about that in a second. But not everybody has the benefit of having a prospect research department at their institution. So even if not, there are search engines, Foundation Directory Online, GuideStar, and iWave is for corporations. And while I don't use those directly, I have used them, they exist, they're effective, and you can use those. Some of them are paid, some are free. But the other critical part of prospect research is relentlessly going on visit after visit. Matthew joked about wearing out 2 pairs of shoes, and that's just what we did. We ran the reports, we knew where to start. But we identified a few champions of the program early on, and people we suspected would be interested, and we just started talking to them, asking them. The other important piece of this is that if you run these reports and you have somewhat of a novel program around which there's no historical funding, then it's probably time to back up a step and consider talking to some thought leaders, some influencers, community folks about what they think you should be thinking about. And that way you can generate interest in your project, but also get feedback to help shape where you're going. For example, you can see workforce development, education, and underrepresented minorities are 3 critical things that many people are interested in, right? But there was one thing we weren't thinking of, and one of our funders said, hey, not all these kids are going to go to college, which was our primary purpose, but there are IT certifications they can achieve to have good jobs after high school. And we're like, oh yeah, of course. Well, we're in that business, so we could teach that during the summer. So, Matthew was very open to, being agile and helping to shape it. And again, that's where it's important to think about getting feedback from leaders and being agile and willing to help meet the demand. Because again, it's not about me and my program or project. It's about what I can do to help meet the needs of these organizations. So once I've kind of identified, okay, these people are interested in what we're doing, I need to dig deeper, go to their website and drill down to see, because they may have given to K-12 STEM, but drill down deeper, well, exactly what have they given to? What are their priorities? Are these pillars in alignment with what I'm doing? And if I can validate that, then I go on to the next part and make sure that my organization qualifies, because occasionally political, religious organizations or individuals are excluded from receiving philanthropic contributions from foundations, and sometimes higher ed institutions are. And certainly geographic location can be exclusive too. So we want to make sure that we're in a pretty close alignment with the funding priorities and that we qualify. Otherwise, you don't want to waste time because, again, a glamorous funding proposal ain't going to cut it. It just won't do it. It's a waste of everyone's time. So key is project alignment and key relationships, which I'll talk about here in a bit. So now that you have a good idea of like who the prospects are, where to start, how do you approach them? Well, again, it's pretty obvious. You want to talk to a key decision maker. Well, the very best way to reach a key decision maker in one of those organizations is to have a mutual acquaintance introduce you, because it will increase your chances that they'll see you or talk to you, and it adds credibility to you. Now, we've only had that luxury a couple times. We've had to dig a little deeper and go around the side door and work with alumni or friends. We were fortunate to have a faculty member who's been in Indianapolis a long time, pretty well connected. And he introduced us to a gentleman that I made really fast friends with, and he probably introduced us to at least 2 or 3 different organizations that resulted in gifts for us. So there's a lot of intense networking. Sometimes you'll find you'll chase things that are either a dead end or one link will lead to the next, but you don't always end up at the money at the beginning. But none of our visits were wasted because we got good feedback about the program. We made good corporate connections to ultimately serve as volunteers or hosts for our students, or formed strategic alliances, which I'll talk about in a little bit too, and why that's important. So, so if you can't network your way into the organization, good old-fashioned homework, research on the organization, the key decision maker, and making that informed, enthusiastic, passionate phone call, conveying to them briefly what you can do, what your program can do for them to help them reach their goals. Because keep in mind, these foundations are required by law to spend 5% of their assets every year. They have predetermined priorities governed by a board of directors to which these program officers and decision makers are accountable to. So companies invest strategically to grow their businesses and increase profitability, and that includes being visible in the community. So if I go into the call thinking in those terms of how I can help them and not, just worry about my program, that if I'm of service and just try to think about meeting their needs, it all just kind of works out. If there's alignment, there still has to be alignment. That can't be faked or forced. So briefly ask for that, at very minimum, a 30-minute phone call, or ideally a face-to-face visit with the idea of, their needs in mind. And I will also emphasize passion and enthusiasm. If you can't convince them that you can make a difference for them, it's not reasonable to expect that they will convince their board that you can. So it's really important to convey your passion for what you're doing. And just a quick case in point, I'm all in for IDO. I stand for everything it's about, excited to do the job. But I got to say, after a few months with this guy, I saw his passion, when we went on visits, and it showed through, and donors responded to that. I responded to that, and I am convinced that our enthusiasm for this program inspired others to come on board. So again, don't want to underestimate the importance of passion. Okay, and this is my last slide, I think, before we open up to the panel. But I just want to talk about, you wouldn't think that, it takes time, that's a strategy or a tip, but I can tell you from the beginning, the amount of time that goes into this is incredible, because you're talking about developing your program, preparing the materials, prospect research, appointment setting, traveling to visits, the follow-up, going from one person to the next, until eventually you're invited. You send a letter of inquiry, fill out the online application, proposal writing, on and on and on. It takes an enormous amount of time. So if you pursue this and want to be successful, make sure you're committed. A really key thing I want to emphasize too, a takeaway, if there were 2 things, it would be the alignment program versus proposal. The other thing is strategic alliances. We formed some key alliances from the beginning that added credibility to us, and also expanded our network. Girls Incorporated, Tech Point Foundation for Youth, and others. Here was a big one. We formed relationships with these high schools that host these students. And what I found from funders, and this is a big one, they don't necessarily want us just to come to them and say, hey, we can do this. Let's go do this together, funder. they want to know that their community has a demand for this. They want to see the idea bubble up. And that's what we did successfully in Indianapolis with IDO. We had a program manager who had relationships with these schools. She was already promoting diversity and recruiting for our school. And so when we came to funders and said we were already, trusted and had these relationships and the schools wanted to do it, it made it much easier. And so we're currently replicating that model, trying to do this in other cities. And apologies in advance, 2:00, I'll be speaking to someone in one of those cities, major cities to be named, where we want to scale this. But the advisory council to connect us to educators, groups that serve underrepresented minorities, corporate, and dollars were important. Another strategic alliance that we formed. Once you get champions, advocates for your program, bring them all together. We had a really cool kickoff event at one of our schools, Arsenal Technicals, a former military arsenal storage place, and it's well preserved. It has a culinary program. The students catered breakfast, and their choir came out and sung to these guys. And Matthew shared his vision and enthusiasm. And so we created a shared vision for IDO. And so these people were on board, and we just grew from there. Whenever we'd have success, we would have an event, celebrate milestones along the way. You saw the end of semester events that we hosted. So keeping that cohort excited and engaged is important. And I think the last thing I'll talk about is stewardship, and that is constantly communicating the impact of your program to your investors, not just in written reports that you're obligated to do because of the MOU or the grant agreement, but invite them to be a part of it. They come to the high schools and meet the students and see their projects. We had an IDO day on campus where they came to campus and got to be part of it. They are always thanked and recognized on the students' t-shirts they wear, materials we print, website. You can't thank them enough. So stewardship and strategic alliances and a proper alignment are probably three of the main things that I'll leave with. But thank you for your time.
Just to introduce myself again for the new people, my name's Matt Calhoun. I'm with the Alaska Native Science Engineering Program, and I've been with them since '99 when I was a student, and ANCEP's helped me get through my undergrad, because before I found out about ANCEP, I dropped out of college and came back after I got my undergrad, worked with ANCEP doing pre-college recruiting, and then went back to grad school, and now I'm on the faculty at the University of Alaska, Anchorage, in my 4th year next year. So ANCEP started in 1995 with one student, and it started as a university program, just as a scholarship, really just a way to give scholarship money to students. And now, 23 years later, we have 2,500 students from middle school to the PhD. And so we have, these are our different components. So we have a middle school academy, a STEM career exploration for the middle school students coming back. We have Acceleration Academy, a summer bridge, a university program, and also a graduate success piece. And our latest thing that's not on here is we're starting our own high school. We've done 1 year with one high school, and we're starting a second one this next year in Anchorage. And so as of our budget for next year is going to be over 10 million, and 2.6 million of that is provided by the state through the university, and the rest is either through grants or a lot of it's philanthropic donations. So one thing that we do is we collect data on our students to show our donors our success. And we had an external evaluation done by the Urban Institute in 2015 that cost $500,000. That was also philanthropically funded. And you can find that evaluation on our website if you want to look at that more. So our middle school academy, we partner with school districts around Alaska, and we do a 2-week computer build. So this is the districts provide the funding for this. Alaska Airlines flies the students to to our university, one of the first things we do is we show the students how to build a computer. And this is really builds a lot of motivation, excitement, and we let the students take the computer home at the end of the 2 weeks, and use it as an incentive to try to get them to complete Algebra 1 by 8th grade. So these are some students building a computer. A lot of times this is the only computer that'll be in their household. Some of these students are the poorest in the nation. So these are our completion rates for math. So you can see our ANSEP students are 3 times higher than all students nationally for completing Algebra 1 by 8th grade graduation. So the next part to keep these students engaged is our Acceleration Academy. So we host this 5 weeks over the summer. So it's going on right now. These students will take a math course. Our goal is for every student to advance 1 level of math each summer. And 95% of our students have done that. And so our thinking was, well, if we're doing that with these students over 5 weeks, what if we just had our own high school? And so that's where we're at now. And it's probably going to be our most transformative component. And we're having students now that are graduating high school that have already completed Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, ordinary differential equations, and even advanced engineering math in some cases. So when they get to the university, they've already done all the math. So we're having students graduate with an engineering degree in 3 years in some cases. So next is the summer bridge piece. This is between high school graduation and beginning at the university. And so this is a 13-week where the students, if they need to do another math class, they'll do that math class, and then we'll also have internships with partners who are also our donors, and they'll go in either in engineering or science, go out and do a internship over the course of the summer. So another piece of our data is 95% of those summer bridge students successfully transition to science or an engineering degree. And the next piece is once we get them at the university, we have a university success component. And we do things like we meet every week. We have partners or donors come in, and if it's an organization that's looking for scientists or engineers, they'll tell about internships. The students will also give a presentation about a previous internship they've done. So that's one thing we do with the University Success. Another is we require them to join a professional society, and we also have recitation sessions. So this isn't tutoring, this is more, we have a student that completed a math or science course with a B or better is the leader, and we have the students that are taking the class work together on homework. They get up and do problems on the board, then have to explain it to the other students. So that, and then our latest thing is what we're calling the Acceleration High School. So these students can earn dual credits, so they're taking college courses from a faculty member at the University of Alaska, and so these are, by the time they graduate, these are some of the credits that they can earn towards a degree. Our goal is for STEM, but not everyone's going to go into STEM, so there's other degrees that students work on as well. So how did ANSEP start? Well, it started in 1995 with just one student. We realized that we're having to do a lot of remediation, and so we kind of did it backwards. So we started building computers with students, juniors and seniors, and it's kind of like an onion. each layer, we go back a little farther. So who knows, we're now at middle school, and then we had a donor talk about when we're going to go into elementary school. So we'll see where that takes us. So this is the ANSEP building. Dr. Schroeder, who is the person that started ANSEP, raised $7 million philanthropic funds to build that building, and it's in the shape of a canoe. And you can see on our these handouts, you can see that's a big part of this is marketing and branding. And so that canoe you'll see, you know, on all these pages. So we have 100 plus partners at this point that either provide cash or internships, and that helps us really function, especially when you have a budget that's going to be over 10 million next year. So inside these handouts, you can see we have one thing is a list of all our partners. This is not a complete list. We got to get this reprinted. But the momentum is definitely building. And I'd like to, you know, a big part of this is relationship building, as you've heard multiple times. And I think it was 2 years ago, we had a visitor come in from a governmental agency, and we were talking about internships, and showed them around, took the whole day to take them around all our different components that we're running. And nothing really came of that meeting right away, but I think it was just a month ago, one of those people in that group came into the building and I haven't seen him for 3 years. And it turns out they wanted to give their pretty much when they passed away, they wanted to give everything to ANSEP. And that was over $2 million at this point. So, you know, this relationship building is a very important piece of how you get donors and partners. So these are just a few of the logos from some of our partners. The main thing is funding and internships for our students. And just to reiterate what Stacy said, with your donors, you need to have a common, your goals need to align. So our goal is to effect systemic change in the hiring patterns of indigenous Americans, and all these companies have the same goal. So these are some of the awards that the ANSEP program has won. You can see them on the front of this, of our marketing material. One thing we did with this is Herb modeled this, if you go and look at the Mercedes-Benz marketing material, it kind of resembles this. It's shiny, there's lots of pictures. Another thing that we did is, this is larger than an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So when we go see people, they don't lose this on their desk. So it's another marketing thing that we did. So I'm not going to go through everything that's in here, but this tells more about our different components. There's also a transcript study that we did. The state of Alaska education, K through 12 education, is one of the worst in the nation. And so this transcript study we did shows that. So that's mainly just give you a little overview of what the ANSEP program is about, and we'll open it up to questions or things you have specifically about funding.